pjnet.tv. On the air with part 2, it is 9:30 here on the East Coast. Our title roll is running. We have JD standing by in our green room. The chat room is waiting. We're recording and streaming on all platforms. We will switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening. Welcome back. Part 2, pjnet.tv. This is the time that we go around the Cross W. Yes, that's what you see going on behind me. That is JD's brand. His brand is his brand, and JD is traveling this week. But as he did last week, he's taken some time out from his very busy schedule, of course, to join us. Good afternoon, good evening, JD. Good to see you. And
hey, good evening, Coach.
When you going back home, brother?
Lord willing, Saturday morning.
Okay.
Get back Saturday afternoon into DFW, and I'm home for supper.
All right. Well, the cows will appreciate you being back. Your wife will appreciate.
Yes.
I should have said your wife first.
Well, I think so.
Well, the cows
so.
depend upon you a little bit more, I guess, in that,
Very true.
In a broad sense. But
they'll stand at the fence and holler.
Mm-hmm. Do you miss them?
Yeah, they can't use the phone. Of course, I miss my wife. Do I miss the cows? Yeah, I miss visiting with them.
Reading your blog today, it became apparent to me just how special those cattle are. I don't know if most cattle ranchers have that close of a relationship with their cattle, do they?
You know what, Coach? It surprises me the number of people that do talk to their animals and care for their animals. I've got a gentleman, a brother in my church right now, that is coming over and feeding for me and things, because Michael's under the weather yet. But he's taking great care of them, and I am certain he is caring for them every bit as much as I do. And it sure makes it much easier when I'm TDY, when I'm traveling, to know that I've got good people taking care of them, and they care about them just as much as I do, Coach. Makes a difference. Does every rancher stand out there of a morning and thank God and pray over every one of his animals? Probably not, Coach. But that's why I'm not their owner. I'm their caretaker. God blessed me with them. He charged me with them. He gave me dominion over them. My job is to take care of them, isn't it, sir?
It is, and but you seem to have a special, I guess you recognize who really is in charge. And that's, it would have to take a Christian perspective to truly understand that. You had an interesting story on your blog this week. By the way, for those of you out there, JD blogs every Wednesday at jdwininger.com. And we certainly want you to go there. But we usually talk about it here. So even if you didn't read it, you'd get the gist of it here, or maybe get some stuff here that wasn't in it. But I don't know what I could, I think I'll find a way to annotate it, but it's just a warm, heartwarming story of not only the affection, but the God-given drive to care for our young and love them and nurture them.
Yes, sir. And young has a couple of meanings, right? It's definitely that newborn babe, but it's also that newborn Christian, isn't it, Coach? I see so many folks get saved in church, and that's a wonderful event. That's just a blessing to be a part of when you see somebody surrender to Christ and accept Him as their Savior. But usually they get hugs, or they get a handshake and a pat on the shoulder, and a couple of weeks later they get baptized. And now remember, this is the tithe envelope, and you put that in at the first of every month, and you do these things. And here's what you have to do to be a good member in good standing with the church. And then F.F. Bosworth put it best. He said, normally we feed ourselves 3 hot meals a day, but we only feed our souls one cold snack a week, right? We catch that 30-minute sermon on Sunday mornings, and no wonder our faith can be so weak sometimes. And it's very true, because if it's as though sometimes the church expects us to just get all this stuff by osmosis. So, if you sit in the pew long enough and you listen to the choir and you listen to the pastor, then you'll figure it out. And it doesn't always work that way, Coach. In my life, I grew up in a church. Wasn't a great experience, but I grew up in a church, and then my adopted family really showed me the different side of what it meant to be Christian. I understood what it meant to be religious, or what my biological family said religious was. But when you start seeing Christian, you start seeing Christian love, and that being extended to you, and you start to understand it, and you start to see that God isn't this mean, vengeful spirit that's sitting up there in heaven getting ready to play whack-a-mole with your behind. As soon as you sin and step out of line, he's not going to smack you or hit you with a thunderbolt. He's actually a loving, giving God. Now, that's not to say that he's not going to judge sin. And if we don't get it right, then we're going to have to pay that price. We're going to meet our Maker one day. We all will. But don't expect young people to know what to do. And I experienced that with my little first time heifer. Of course, any heifer is a first time, yeah, because once you have a baby, you're just a cow. But little Lulu Bell, she was one of the first cows born on the Cross W. So she's not quite 2 years old when she was first bred. So she's not quite three, and she had her first baby the end of January. And labor is tough, I can imagine. And even though for calf size, 50, 51 pounds is a small calf, that's a pretty good sized sack of taters that you're passing there. So she, worked through that for, a little over an hour or so. But it progressed nicely, and I'm out there and I'm watching and I'm gauging and I'm judging and I'm timing and I'm doing all the things that a good farmer is supposed to do, or at least what I've read and tried to learn from experience. And everything came okay. And then I go, okay, now you're supposed to get up and start licking this baby off, because they'll, and I don't mean to be gross, but they'll eat the afterbirth because you want to keep the predators and scavengers away. But they'll get their baby cleaned up, and about that time the baby's ready to stand, and it's kind of wobbly, shaky. You've seen new animals, and it's just a wonderful experience to see. About that time, here comes everybody else, and what I call the gathering of the herd. All the mamas and grandmamas and cousins and everybody comes over and says, "Hey, welcome," and they'll give the little calf a little lick, and a little nudge and kind of talk to it for a second, and then they'll wander away and they'll go about their way and let mama and baby bond. Except mama wasn't getting up. She's laying there. I'm tired. The baby's laying behind her. And I'm going, okay, I've either got to move baby around so she'll start licking him off, or I've got to get her up. So I give her a little grain to give her a chance to get some strength back. And it's finally she got up and she's watching me, and I've got a towel and I'm trying to clean the little calf off as best I can. And come on, help, and I'm talking to Lulu, and she's a pretty good little girl, so she'll listen to me as far as dumb old cows go. But she started in, and I went, okay, we've got this, she'll figure it out. Sometimes we have to show people what to do, and we got to show cows too, Coach. So I thought she had it figured out, and so she's on it for a few minutes, and the other cows come, and I'm going, everything's all right. So I go back and actually having gutters put on my barn. So I had 6 guys up there with 50 feet of gutter trying to hang off the side of one of my barns. And so I'm kind of watching that, watching the cow and doing different things. And it's cold. It's about 28 degrees outside with the wind chill, Coach. So I want gloves back on,
Mm-hmm.
and get through it. And the next thing I know, I'm looking out there, and there's Mama. She's a couple 100 feet away. She's laying back down. She's going, man, I heard. I just need to rest now. And I go, where's the baby? And I see some turkey vultures and buzzards starting to
Mm-hmm.
form up on the fence line. Not this day, not today. And so I get back in the ATV and I go out there and I try to get Mama to come over. And I don't want to move. Just sometimes pain is stronger than the instinct to want to do good, to want to
Mm-hmm.
do the right thing. So I said, okay, well, either way, I've got to get this baby up. So why don't I focus on that? So I ruined another towel. Sorry, honey, if you're listening tonight, but I ruined another towel and got to where I got most of the slime off of one side. And I said, okay, it's been 30 minutes. We need to get you fed here, but you can't eat if you're not standing up. So I had to help him learn how to stand. Uh, Coach, we teach our babies, we put them in little walkers and little bouncy strollers and things,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually they learn to crawl and then they learn to stand. Well, a cow gets up, it's got to get its front legs under it, so you got to
Mm-hmm.
get them under it, and then they stand up on their back legs, and then they'll push themselves up. They kind of do a push up and get up on their front legs. But how do you know that if you've never done that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain amount of instinct. So I'm there trying to lift this slimy little bugger up by the backside, and get him up. And I'm a mess at this point. You can imagine a jacket and everything's just soaked in this stuff. And then I get him up, and he's kind of wobbling back and forth, and he's really unstable. So I got to cradle him underneath his chest. So I reach between his front legs, and I'm holding him up and getting him steady until he can get his footing. And I let go. I think, okay, he's got it. I let go, and bonk, he topples over. Okay, let's do it again, little fella. Finally, I get him up, and Mama's interested enough that she comes back over. I go, okay, well now I need to get some colostrum in you, and that's basically the mother's milk or the first milk
Mm-hmm.
from a cow, and that's really what is full of all the antibodies, because a calf is born with the immune system. It's been dormant all inside of mama because it's lived off of mama's immune system. So now we got to get this thing fired up and working, or this cow's going to get sick and die on me. So to do that, he has to suckle mama. He's got to
Mm-hmm.
nurse mama. And of course, things are a little tender and sore as you could imagine. And so every time, I get him headed in the right direction, and he's got enough instinct to know I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tries to get underneath mama, and mama just turns around. She just kind of puts it in
Mm-hmm.
reverse and backs away. And so this dance is going on for about 10 minutes, and this little calf is getting to where he can take a few steps now. So he's walking. His mama's going around in circles backwards, and he's walking. Come here, let me get that. And finally, uh, I go, okay, let me get some good hay and some grain, and I get mama focused on eating something,
Oh.
because she's tired. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So she's eating, and hey, wait a minute, something's going on back there. It's okay, and so just let nature take its course. But it's a process, Coach. And once he gets going, and it's kind of comical. Uh, and I'll send you a video one day, Coach. But mama cow's milk is just not gravity feed. They have to actually relax muscles,
Mm-hmm.
and we call it letting their milk down,
Right.
from the udder into the teats. Well, for that to happen, and normally after a day or so, you'll catch the little calves when they're out there nursing their mama. They'll take their heads and they'll just whack, and whack the udder of the mama. Come on, give me that milk, and that's kind of the process. So they're just using her as a punching bag, and getting the milk flowing and things. But it's almost comical to watch because you know that they're getting milk when their tail goes a wagging. You know,
Okay.
when their little tail is wagging, you know that the calf is sucking milk. So and of course, you know, we watch what we call the quarters. You know, there's four teats in and outer that are usable, if you will, and you'll watch them. One will get smaller, and then another side, and then over here in the back corner and
Got
things.
to
So
rotate.
that's
Yeah.
how we know that they're being nourished.
Hmm.
But as I thought about that and then worked through it, and of course, kind of funny, I guess, to you in aftermath. But later that day, I got thinking about, you know, I had to teach the little calf, and I had to teach the new mama what to do. It was a new experience for both of them. And excuse me, Coach, that's much like what happens with new Christians. You know, new converts. We're saved, but what do we do next? How do we do next? How do I study the Bible? Where do I start? Boy, that's 66 different books. Where do I start in that, right? And how do I do that? How do I read the Bible? How do I understand what I'm reading? What is a concordance, right? And how do I cross-reference things? If we never teach them, they never learn how to do that. So it comes down, Coach, to we have to be disciple makers, and all of us can bring something to teach. There's a lot of Christians out there that's a lot smarter than I am about these things, Coach. But what I know is if nobody ever teaches me how to pray, how to have a conversation with the Father, how am I ever going to learn to do that? If nobody teaches me what Proverbs 27:17 means. You know, iron sharpens iron. What does that mean, Coach? It means sometimes I got to tell you a hard truth because I want you to learn the right way. I want you to learn Christ's ways and do what He needs to do. But you know, we do these things not to show them that we're smarter than others, but to show them, you know, we want to teach them the way that Christ taught His disciples and the way that He taught His followers. And I think we're charged to do the same thing. So that was just for me. It really came down to, am I doing enough to help those new Christians? And I've got a couple in mind. One of them's in the chat room tonight. And what am I doing to help this young person figure out their walk in Christ? How do they develop a closer walk with Christ? And I think that's something that we all need to think about and look at from time to time, Coach.
JD, as I was reading it, I saw something that maybe I was reading between the lines, but you know that little calf was born and was struggling. That's when the vultures circled up.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I think we need to understand when we have a new Christian, whether that is someone who is 7 or 70, there's an enemy out there circling up. Because, see, that person wasn't a threat to their agenda previously, but they are now.
Absolutely.
And that is when, you know, they're going to pick on the weak and the vulnerable. It's their nature. The vultures are going to do that. And it's funny, God put them here to keep the herd strong, you know.
Yes, got to
bef-
clean up the mess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and vultures are a good thing because we would have a lot of stinky highways if it weren't for them cleaning it up. But so I kind of appreciate the vultures. But my point is that even in nature, in that story that you told, I saw the threat. And then here comes JD, not on my watch. You know?
No,
A couple of other things that I saw, JD. You mentioned at least twice, maybe more. You saw that the calf and the mom were making a little progress, and you backed off to let we don't do it for them. That's not our role.
correct.
Okay, let that natural bond develop, and so likewise we don't need to smother new Christians with a bunch of theology and premillennial dispensationalism and propitiation and as Paul said, in the beginning you drank milk and that was appropriate, and the meat will come at the appropriate time. So I really enjoyed some of the imagery, and I really enjoyed hearing you tell the story, JD, because the words don't show the animation. And the look in your eyes, I can see that I tell you, watching the older I get, the more I get energized by watching a younger one make their way. And I never noticed that. It's a function of age, I believe. And your heart goes out to them, doesn't it? You just want to reach out and help. It's great. We're about used up all the time we got, JD. I'm glad you took us around the Cross W for a little tour there, and I look forward to the day when we can walk a little bit on that turf and kick some cow chips, and
yes, sir.
Help fertilize the ground a little bit.
Make sure it's summertime.
Yeah. Did you get a chance?
Nice and hard. Yes.
Did you get a chance to circle up with Andy Clapp?
No, sir. I wanted to Sunday, and I ended up. I worked until about 4 a.m. Sunday morning, and I had to be back at the office at 10 a.m. Wow. And I just couldn't find the time to drive about the 30 minutes. And that's all it is. And I hate that because Mr. Andy, now I understand Pastor Andy lives somewhere here in Burlington.
Burlington.
I'm somewhere, Coach. Honest, I am. I can look on the phone and find myself on a map. But yeah,
sounds like you need to do that,
and he lives here somewhere, so I might get a chance before Saturday morning. If not, then it'll be the next time I'm out here, Coach. Yeah. Because I sure want to meet that big rascal. Yeah. He just I've listened to him deliver a message. I've listened to him speak with such passion and compassion. That's somebody I got to meet. I got to be friends in real life with this gentleman. Yes, sir.
It is. Well, JD, it's been good having you visit with us tonight, as you do every Thursday night. And it's great to have you on the PJNet.TV team. You're a good ambassador for Christ, but you're a pretty good ambassador for PJNet.TV. And we appreciate you, brother. And wind it all up and get yourself back to the Cross W and to your wife. And them cows have been missing you, so get on back.
We're going to try to get a few hours sleep here and then get back at it and get through this thing and get home where I belong. It'll be good. JD, I promise I'll be more rested when I see you next Thursday, Coach.
Well, you won't see us. I think this will be a recorded version next Thursday if we do it at all. So, but we look forward to it every time, JD. Appreciate you, brother.
Okay. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Well, folks, we just went around the Cross W. That was J.D. Wininger, and he is with us every Thursday night about 9:30 Eastern Time. What a privilege, what a joy, what a team we have. Folks, we've got the team that visits here and presents the Word, so to speak, but we also have a great team in our chat room. And folks, I've been having some private conversations. Folks, I am really anticipating literally a catapulting of what we together can do. Now, folks, I wish there were an easier way. I wish it weren't quite so many clicks of the mouse. I wish there weren't quite so many steps. But folks, I am assured that if we will take those steps, we are going to see videos that get 1,000 views. When we get there, we are going to see 2,000 and then 3,000 and then 4,000. Folks, when we start putting out material to share the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ, and people are going to be scratching their head. I mean, there's churches out there that'll be scratching their head saying, we don't get that. And that I just look forward to that day, because I think it was never intended for the pastor to do it all. I think it was intended for the pastor to equip us he's the shepherd, he leads, but we are, folks, we're on to something. And I'm excited about it, and I can't think of a better team of people, a better family at our core right here, right now. I want you to mark this in your mind, because a year from now, I want to reflect back to those days when we were struggling to get 12 and 20 and even 100 views. I want to look back to those days when we put something in the social media thing and it gets 4 retweets and 8 retweets. Folks, I look forward to that day when it gets 40 and 80 and 100. And if you don't believe that that can happen, then you're in the wrong place. We've actually done it before. And we can. And we must. There's a dark world. I'm kind of waxing esoteric here. I'm gonna leave, folks. I do invite you to contact me. I know that a lot of this stuff is just kind of a lot, to take in. But folks, it can be done. It's all new to you. There are a lot of moving parts. I wish there weren't, but it can be done. And don't be intimidated. Let's embrace this, and let's lock arms, and let's march forward together. So I leave you with two questions. First question is, what is the boldest thing you've done in the name of Jesus Christ in your life? And the second question, of course, is, well, how long ago was that? May we never be satisfied with either answer.